My wife constantly allows her toxic brother to ruin our entire lives by taking all our hard-earned money, trashing our home, and causing endless fights while she stubbornly defends him and completely ignores how much it hurts me every single day now. So yeah, I'm at my wit's end here, and I need to vent. My name's Dillon. I'm 32, and I've been married to Tessa, who's 29, for about 4 years now. We've got a decent life, small house, 2 dogs, jobs that don't suck too bad. But there's this one thing that's been eating at me lately, and it's her brother, Bryce. He's 25, a total train wreck, and Tessa just won't cut him off no matter how toxic he gets. I'm starting to feel like I'm losing my mind over it, and it's messing with our marriage big time. Let me back up and give you the full picture. Bryce has been a problem since I met Tessa. He's her younger brother, and from day one, I could tell he was the kind of guy who'd charm you into giving him $20 and then ghost you when you asked for it back. He's loud, cocky, and acts like the world owes him something. Tessa says he wasn't always like this, that he was sweet when they were kids, but I've only ever known the version of Bryce who'd sell his own grandma's TV for beer money. And trust me, I wouldn't put it past him. The thing is, Tessa's got this huge heart. She's the kind of person who'd give you her last slice of pizza even if she hadn't eaten all day. I love that about her, but it's also why she can't see Bryce for the leech he is. She's all about family, and he's her little brother, so she feels like she's got to look out for him. Meanwhile, I'm over here watching him drag her, and us, through the mud, and I'm done pretending it's fine. It started small. Back when we were dating, Bryce would call Tessa at all hours whining about some crisis. Lost his job, got dumped, needed a ride because he totaled his car. She'd drop everything to help him, and I'd bite my tongue because, hey, we weren't married yet, and I didn't want to come off like a controlling jerk. But after we tied the knot, it got worse. Way worse. One of the first big fights we had about him was maybe 6 months into our marriage. Bryce showed up at our place, this little 2-bedroom we'd just bought, smelling like a dive bar and asking to crash on our couch. Tessa let him in before I could say anything, and I figured, okay, one night, no big deal. Except one night turned into 2 weeks. He ate all our food, left beer cans everywhere, and blasted music so loud the neighbors complained. I'd come home from work, where I'm stuck doing 9 to 5 at a warehouse, and find him sprawled out like he owned the place, while Tessa was at her nursing job pulling 12-hour shifts. I finally snapped one night when I tripped over his muddy boots in the hall. "Tessa," I said, trying to keep my voice even, "he's got to go. This isn't a flop house." She looked at me with those big, tired eyes and said, "Dillon, he's got nowhere else. His roommates kicked him out. What am I supposed to do? Let him sleep on the street?" I didn't have a good answer for that, at least not one that didn't make me sound like an a-hole. So I just grumbled and let it slide. He left a few days later, but not before borrowing $50 from Tessa that we never saw again. That was the pattern for a while. He'd show up, make a mess, take something, money, food, whatever, and then disappear until his next screw up. I'd complain, Tessa would defend him, and we'd move on. But lately, it's gotten out of hand, and I'm not sure how much more I can take. The tipping point came about 2 months ago. Tessa and I have this joint savings account. We're trying to save up for a bigger place, maybe start a family someday. I check it one day and notice it's down $1,000. A freaking grand. I ask Tessa about it, and she gets all quiet, picking at her nails like she does when she's nervous. "I gave it to Bryce," she finally says. "He was behind on rent and about to get evicted." I just stared at her, trying to process that. "You gave him $1,000? From our savings?" Without even talking to me. She nodded, eyes on the floor. "He promised he'd pay it back, Dillon. He's my brother. I couldn't let him end up homeless." I lost it. I'm not proud of it, but I yelled, "Tessa, he's never paid us back a dime. That's our money, for us. What's next? He takes our house too." She started crying, saying I didn't get how hard it was for her to say no to him, and I stormed out to cool off. That fight opened a whole can of worms. Turns out she'd been slipping him cash here and there for months. $50, $100, whatever he asked for. She didn't tell me because she knew I'd be mad, and she was right. I felt betrayed, not just because of the money, but because she was choosing him over us. Over me. I told her I wanted her to stop giving him anything, period, and she agreed, but I could tell she didn't mean it. Then there's the family pressure crap. Tessa's mom is a big part of why this keeps happening. She's one of those people who thinks family sticks together no matter what, even if one of them's a walking disaster. Every time Bryce screws up, she calls Tessa crying, saying, "He's your brother. You can't turn your back on him. I didn't raise you to be cold." It's like she's got Tessa on a guilt leash, and Bryce knows it. He'll run to his mom when he needs leverage, and she'll lean on Tessa until she caves. I've tried talking to her mom about it once. Big mistake. She told me I didn't understand family, and hung up. Cool, thanks for that. My mom, on the other hand, sees right through Bryce. She's this no-nonsense lady who raised me pretty much on her own after my dad split. She met Bryce once at our wedding and pulled me aside after to say, "That kid's trouble, Dillon. Keep an eye on him." She's been on my case lately to put my foot down, but she doesn't get how tricky it is with Tessa in the middle. "You're the husband," she'll say. "Your house, your rules." Easier said than done, Mom. Anyway, things hit a new low last week, and it's why I'm writing this now. Bryce got into some dumb bar fight, punched a guy over a spilled drink or something, and ended up in jail overnight. Guess who he called? Not his mom, not a friend, but Tessa. She wanted to go bail him out, and I flat out said no. He's 25, Tessa. He's not a kid. Let him figure it out. She got this look, like I'd just kicked one of our dogs, and said, "You don't have siblings, Dillon. You don't know what it's like." That stung, because yeah, I'm an only child, but I don't think that means I'm wrong here. We argued for hours. She said I was being heartless. I said she was enabling him. She ended up not going, but only because I wouldn't give her the car keys. We'd been drinking wine, and I didn't trust her to drive upset. Bryce got out the next day anyway. Some buddy of his bailed him out, but now Tessa's barely talking to me. She's sleeping on the couch, and I'm in our room staring at the ceiling every night, wondering how we got here. It's not just the big stuff either. It's the little things piling up. Like how Bryce showed up a month ago with a busted lip, saying he fell, and stayed for 3 days. He drank all my good whiskey, the stuff I'd been saving for a rough day, and left the empty bottle on the counter like a trophy. Or how he'll text Tessa these sob stories at midnight, and I'll wake up to her pacing the kitchen, whispering on the phone so I don't hear. Our house doesn't feel like ours anymore. It's like he's this ghost that won't leave. I've been venting to my buddy, Nate, about it. He's this chill guy I've known since high school, works at a tattoo shop now. He's the one who told me about Reddit, actually. I saw a post on there once about a guy dealing with his girlfriend's deadbeat brother, and it felt way too familiar. Nate's take is that I've got a right to be mad, but I might be pushing Tessa too hard. "She's caught between you and him, man," he said over beers last weekend. "You're not wrong, but she's not going to ditch him overnight." I get that, but how long am I supposed to wait? The money thing's still a sore spot too. After that savings account blowout, I checked our statements again last night. Yeah, I'm paranoid now, and saw another $200 gone 2 weeks ago. Tessa swears it was for groceries, but I know she's lying. I can see it in her face. I haven't confronted her yet because I'm scared of what'll happen if I do. Will she just cry again? Will we yell until the dogs hide under the bed? I don't know. I keep replaying these moments in my head. Like 3 years ago, when Bryce borrowed my old pickup truck to move some stuff and brought it back with a dented fender and no explanation. Or Tessa's 26th birthday, when he showed up trashed, started a fight with her cousin, and ruined the whole night. She still invited him to her 27th, because he felt bad about it. He didn't. He never does. I'm starting to pull away from her, and I hate it. We used to be solid, movie nights, dumb inside jokes, planning trips we'd never take. Now it's like Bryce is this wall between us. I'll try to talk to her, and she'll shut down if his name comes up. Last night, I made dinner, her favorite, chicken Alfredo, and she just picked at it, staring at her phone. I asked what was wrong, and she mumbled, "Nothing," but I saw Bryce's name on the screen before she flipped it over. I didn't push it. I just ate in silence, feeling like a stranger in my own kitchen. Part of me wonders if I'm overreacting. Tessa's right. I don't have siblings, so maybe I don't get that bond. My mom's all I've got, and if she needed me, I'd be there, no question. But Bryce isn't needing help. He's using her. There's a difference, right? I've tried telling her that, but it's like she's got blinders on. She'll say stuff like, "He's just lost right now," or "He'll turn it around." He won't. I've seen guys like him before. Hell, I worked with a few at the warehouse. They don't change unless they hit rock bottom, and even then, it's a coin toss. I've thought about giving her an ultimatum, me or him, but that feels like a dick move. I don't want to be that guy, you know? The controlling husband who makes her choose. But I'm tired of coming second to a guy who'd sell us out in a heartbeat. Our marriage is crumbling, and I don't know how to fix it without her seeing what I see. I've even wondered if I should just let it go, let him keep mooching until he moves on to someone else. But that could take years, and I don't have that kind of patience left. The house feels different now, too. It's this little brick place on a quiet street. 2 bedrooms, a patchy backyard where the dogs chase squirrels. We painted the living room blue when we moved in, laughing about how bad I am with a roller. Now that blue just looks cold. The couch is stained from Bryce spilling beer last month, and there's a chip in the coffee table from when he dropped his vape. Yeah, he vapes, of course he does. I used to love coming home. Now I dread it. I keep asking myself where the line is. Like, if he crashes here again, do I kick him out myself? If he takes more money, do I lock the accounts? If he gets arrested again, do I let Tessa run to him? I don't want to lose her, but I'm losing myself trying to keep the peace. My mom says I should have drawn a hard line years ago, but Nate thinks I need to ease up or Tess will resent me. I don't know who's right. So yeah, that's the mess I'm in. I'm mad as hell at Bryce, frustrated with Tessa, and stuck wondering if I'm the one screwing this up. Am I being unreasonable for wanting her to cut him off? Or is it fair to expect some boundaries after all this? I just want my wife back, our life back, without this guy hanging over us like a damn storm cloud. Am I the bad guy here? It's been about 7 months since I last vented here, and a lot's gone down. I figured I'd come back with an update because, honestly, things have shifted in ways I didn't see coming. The whole mess with Tessa and Bryce has evolved, or maybe devolved, depending on how you look at it, and I'm still trying to wrap my head around where we're at now. After that night with the bail argument, things didn't just blow over like I hoped. Tessa stayed pissed at me for days. Barely a word between us unless it was about the dogs or bills. I tried to start a normal conversation, like asking about her day at the hospital, and she'd just give me these one-word answers, her jaw tight like she was chewing on something she couldn't spit out. It sucked. I hated the silence, but I wasn't about to apologize for standing my ground. Bryce didn't deserve her running to his rescue, not after everything. About a week later, I caught her sneaking cash again. I'd started keeping a closer eye on our accounts, call it paranoia or whatever, and saw $100 pulled out from an ATM near her work. I confronted her that night while we were brushing our teeth, of all times. Tessa, did you give Bryce money again? I asked, toothbrush in hand, staring at her in the mirror. She froze, then mumbled something about gas and groceries, but her eyes wouldn't meet mine. I pressed her, and she finally snapped. Okay, fine, yes. He needed it for his phone bill. You happy now? I wasn't happy. I was furious. I threw the toothbrush in the sink and walked out, slamming the bedroom door behind me. We had this huge blowout after that, yelling about trust, about how she kept picking him over us, about how I felt like a damn ATM. She cried, I paced, and by the end of it, she promised, no, swore, she'd stop. I didn't believe her, but I wanted to. Desperately. For a while, it seemed like she meant it. Bryce didn't show up at our place, didn't call her in the middle of the night, didn't text begging for cash, at least not that I saw. I thought maybe he'd finally burned through her patience too. Things got a little better between us. We started talking more, even had a couple nights where we cooked together and laughed like we used to. I let myself hope we were past it. Then, 3 months ago, everything went to hell. I came home from work one day, tired, sweaty, just wanting a beer, and there's Bryce on my couch. Not just crashing, but living there, surrounded by pizza boxes and his nasty gym bag. Tessa was in the kitchen, chopping veggies like nothing was wrong. I dropped my keys on the counter and just stared at her. What the hell is this? I said, voice low because I was too mad to yell. She wouldn't look at me. He got evicted, she said, like that explained it all. It's temporary, Dillon. I couldn't say no. I lost it, quietly, though, which was worse. I told her this was our house, not his crash pad, and she hit me with, he's family. You wouldn't get it. That line again. I grabbed my jacket and left, drove around for hours, ended up at a gas station parking lot just sitting there, wondering how we'd gone from temporary to him moving in. He stayed for 2 weeks. 2 weeks of his crap everywhere. Socks on the floor, dishes in the sink, that vape smell clinging to the curtains. He'd blast his music, eat my leftovers, and act like I was the jerk for glaring at him. Tessa kept saying he'd leave soon, but every time I brought it up, she'd get defensive. He's trying, Dillon. He's looking for a job. Yeah, right. I'd hear him on the phone, laughing with his buddies about skipping interviews because the vibe wasn't right. I couldn't take it. One night, after he borrowed my work boots, and left them caked in mud, I told Tessa it was him or me. Not a full ultimatum, but close. He goes, or I'm done sleeping here, I said. She stared at me, tears welling up, and said, "You'd really leave me over this?" I didn't answer, just grabbed a bag and crashed at Nate's place for a few days. I needed space, and she needed to figure out what she wanted. She called me on day 3, crying, saying Bryce was gone. She'd told him to leave after he got drunk and broke a lamp. Our lamp, the one we'd picked out together at a flea market. I came home, and yeah, he was out, but the damage was done. Tessa was a wreck, guilty, mad, sad, all of it, and I wasn't much better. We tried to patch things up, but it felt fragile, like we were walking on eggshells. That's when the new problem hit. About a month ago, Tessa started getting these weird calls, blocked numbers, hang-ups, sometimes heavy breathing. At first, we thought it was spam, but then she got a text from a random number. "You owe me." No name, but we both knew it was Bryce. See, when she kicked him out, he demanded money, said she owed him for all the times she'd abandoned him growing up. She didn't give him anything, but now he's harassing her. Texts at odd hours, calls when I'm not home. Last week, someone slashed her tires in the hospital parking lot. No proof it was him, but come on, who else? She's freaked out. I'm pissed and worried. We've talked about a restraining order, but she's hesitating. She doesn't want to escalate things. Meanwhile, I'm checking the locks every night, wondering if this guy's unhinged enough to show up again. It's like he's still here, screwing with us, even though he's gone. And it's killing Tessa. She's jumpy, quiet, not sleeping. I caught her staring at her phone the other night, reading old messages from him, like she's trying to figure out where it all went wrong. Our marriage isn't what it was. We're together, yeah, but there's this distance I can't bridge. She'll hug me sometimes, out of nowhere, like she's scared I'll walk out again. I don't want to, but I'm exhausted. I love her, God, I do, but I don't know how to fix this when she's still torn up over him. She says she's done with Bryce, that she won't let him back in, but I see the doubt in her eyes. If he came crawling back tomorrow, would she cave? I don't know. The house feels off too. It's cleaner now, sure, no more of his trash, but it's too quiet. The dogs sense it. They'll whine at the door like they're waiting for something. I've been working longer shifts just to stay out, because coming home to that silence guts me. Tessa's picked up extra hours too, says it's for the savings we're rebuilding, but I think she's avoiding me as much as I'm avoiding her. The Bryce mess hasn't stopped draining us either. That grand he took? Never saw a penny back. The 200 from later? Gone too. And now, with her tires slashed, we're out another few hundred. I've locked down our accounts, separate ones now, which stings because it's like admitting we're not a team anymore. She didn't fight me on it, just nodded like she knew it was coming. I keep wondering what's next. Will he keep harassing her? Will she break down and let him back in? Will I snap and do something stupid if he shows up? I'm not a violent guy, but I've caught myself imagining what I'd say, or do, if he crossed my path again. It's not a good headspace to be in. So yeah, that's where I'm at. Tessa's a mess, I'm hanging on by a thread, and Bryce is still out there, pulling strings like some low-rent puppet master. We're not divorced, not separated, but we're not okay either. I want to believe we can get through this, but with him lurking, it feels like a long shot. Am I the one screwing up by not trusting her to handle this? Or is it fair to be this on edge after everything?
Thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the story. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss our daily updates.